open this file. I tried to do this yesterday and then my family came home and I sounded like a cuckoo person talking to myself. So that's why this is the edit I did before. Wow, the image is so awesome. I'm going to set it back. Let's see. Okay, so this is how it's shot. To do a clean, I love shooting raw, and because you can change the white balance. I think white balance and exposure, even though you get it, I get it mostly close all of the time, and there's a lot of leverage that if it was a JPEG and you shot it this way, you probably already know this. Say you shot it this way to make their skin look brighter. You lost all your sky detail, but if you underexpose it and you have your sky, they're way too dark, which is, you know, you could do a silhouette, but other than that, you can't. But in RAW, you have all that information, so even if you shot it like that, you can pull back that detail in the sky or vice versa, and get the color perfect. So as you shot it, the first thing that I notice, I always look at exposure and white balance. So the exposure looks great. This is, if you look up here on the histogram, this you can pull up on your back of your camera too to tell that it has, it's exactly right. There's no detail is blown. This is where the whites are. This is where the blacks are. And getting to know this is on your camera and for your editing that you can look at. It does look cool to me, which makes sense. It looks like it was probably a little bit overcast when you got there, but also they're in shadow. I can tell they're evenly lit. They're in shadow, and shadows are cooler. But I would always warm that up, and it was set, it looks like it was set for 53. I think I mentioned 58, which looks a little, but I also noticed if you go to the white balance and hit auto on this image, it's really pretty nice. It still looks a little something green, I think. I can't really tell. But what I want with their skin is too dark. So I'm going to go to the exposure and pull that up. And I'm eyeballing this. I'm going to go to contrast. I add a little bit of contrast. And then after I add contrast is dealing with midtones, I always pull up the shadow a little and see how that makes it, cleans it, so you can play. These are a couple quick things that I do to almost every image. Clarity, I always add. I go from 7 to, if I'm making a black and white, I don't want to go in too many directions, but if I'm going to a black and white, do you know my two things is convert to grayscale. That's this thing up here. I convert it to grayscale, bring clarity to 100. Those are my two things. You cannot do clarity this much when on a color image. It looks crazy. And I can tell that the focus, I do want to talk later about focus, fell. Like the rocks look more in focus. They are a little soft, but they're evenly soft. And you can tell that the tree trunk is a little sharper. But because they're even, and if we add contrast and some other things, it's really quite beautiful and to work with the focus. So let me take off the grayscale. That was a quick, and see how crazy this looks? It almost burns it. I mean, it's a look, right? You could kind of, certain images, that might be really cool. His eyes look insane. They look like he got punched, two black eyes. And that's because of the clarity. Watch, if I pull the clarity down, he still has a shadow there, but it's not. But anyway, that, you know, a sports, that would be cool, right? Okay, for this one, I would probably put it like about 7 and 9. I'm going to go up in contrast a little bit more, and I'm going to go up in temperature. Another thing, if you go to the color, and I'll slow down and go over some smaller, more carefully. I'm going pretty fast because I want to, but here's, get this to you. So here's the color. So you have hue, saturation, luminance. A quick trick to brighten skin, go to luminance, and I don't use it. It's particular images. Sometimes it's an image where my subjects are in shadow. Add a little bit of luminance on the skin. It's a quick fix to brighten skin, and editing in RAW can be quick. When we go to Photoshop, it's a little bit more. It's looking a little kooky. I can also teach you about numbers. I can tell by the numbers. We can go up in exposure. Skin really can be. See, I'm looking at the red channel. It's 184, so I still know we have a long way to go. We can actually be this bright. But now it's making an even brighter. So, but just so you know, you could if you use spot metering and expose for their skin, you would almost be closer to this. But this is how they look perfectly lit, right? That's not how they actually looked. I'm going to bring it down somewhere in between, right? I think I'm going to land about there. Let me pull back though and see with the exposure. Now we lost all of our sky detail, but this is the radial filter. There's two filters. The radial filter is oval here, where you can put, it's a quick way to affect part of your image. And then what's this one called? Graduated filter. So it's the rectangle. So I click it at the top, pull down, and it affects, it stretches it out. So it's really heavy here, and then it lightens. What I'm going to do is, why I'm doing this is to bring back the sky. So this is already set from a previous edit that I did. But I'm going to bring down the exposure. See how the clouds are coming back? And I'm going to put up the clarity. But this is also affecting them. It's affecting the whole frame, but I'm going to show you what to do with that in a minute. Bring the exposure down a little more. I want to bring back some of those clouds. Okay, now you're going to click on brush on the top right, and there's a brush that adds and a brush that subtracts. We're going to subtract. And I can see that I have a big feather. I don't need that big of a feather. Oh, here it is. I'm going to put the feather pretty low. All right. I'm going to brush it off of them. Now this can be, I think this is fine to be a little bit messy. I'm going to be going closer so I can see what I'm actually doing. They actually still look cooler now that I've done this. I wonder if the graduated filter is. We should probably feather this a little. This is where it's called masking. We don't want to this to be noticeable. This is stuff that, and I'm going kind of fast because I do have to get to basketball and I do want to get this to you. So I might go a little careful, but you play with your feathering to make it undetectable. And you do want to think you had the benefit of being there. You might want to make an edit closer to what your eye actually saw. Okay. I know I'm going to go back and add vibrance. I usually stay away from saturation. I'm just talking while I paint this off. I'll take it off his feet. Oh, it's really not going to be on his feet because see where I stopped the graduated filter, it comes down there. All right. So now if you look at them, they look pretty bright. I'm going to hit the add brush and clean up. I can see an area where I did messy. You probably can't see on the screen share, but ooh, God. That's not good. All right, I want to take that off. Ooh. I should have done that. Okay, so I shouldn't have done that. And I don't know how to erase. See, in Lightroom, I could have erased that. So I got to do that again quickly. All right, grabbing the graduated filter, pulling down. The settings are already there. Now I want to grab the brush, negative, and I want to brush it off him. I don't know where the history is. I'm sure it's here somewhere. This is probably, I probably wouldn't do this work. I do it sometimes, but if I was editing the whole set, I would do it in Lightroom, which is the same, it's the same thing, but it's going to organize it for you. Or Bridge, people use Bridge. Okay, they're still looking cool to me as I'm doing this work, so I'm going to go back and I can actually add more warmth. Now I'm up quite a bit. I like this better. Now I'm going to grab a brush. I want to burn in this sky over here a little bit more. I think these settings are set to what my graduated filter is at. That's way too burnt. So I just went back to exposure. I'm bringing it up a little, 55. Okay. And I'm going to brush in the water a little bit. All right. They're looking almost a little too bright. So and I'm just using my eye. So I'm going to go back to my main panel and just ease it down a little. Okay. I don't know. I think I did a neater job before. But that's about right. I'm going to open the image because I want to show you one tool in Photoshop for straightening. I wanted to straighten the horizon, and you can do it in Camera Raw there. There is, if you click on, it's a flat ruler, and I often straightening a picture is important. But when I did it before, I got so close to Ethan's feet, I didn't like it. So I clicking on the crop tool, and this content aware, it's in the top right, content aware in the new. This is so awesome. It saves so much time. So I'm putting, when I move the cursor around the edge of the crop, there's one that comes up that's curved because I want to turn this. I'm going to turn it, and the line, I'm lining it with the horizon. See how the crop is coming down and there's white here? Because I've clicked content aware, the program, and there's white here, right? Watch what the program does. It does an excellent job. It's kind of like the healing tool and some of those other tools, but it's going to fill in space. I used to do some cloning or things like that. It'd be very tedious and time consuming. Now that the content aware right along the edges, the program does a really good job. And the benefit of doing it here instead of Camera Raw is that we don't have to cut off any of Ethan's feet. It was too close to their feet. Now this one, it's a teeny weeny bit phony, fake here in the corner, but honestly, let's activate the rule of thirds. If I bring it down just a little and up, I take care of that. This is kind of nice to bring it, the line is going through her smile, which is kind of nice. So that's how I would quickly do it. So pretty. I think what's awesome about this image too, the print would go so nicely in here, and it just would make it work. Just excellent work. I'm going to stop the video here. If you want to ask me other questions or set up others, I always change to sRGB here. By the way, sometimes people export. I leave it in the large color space in Photoshop. I'll do another one to show you some other things, some of my main tricks. I don't do a lot. I do less is more, and I try to get it right in camera. But I did want to show you the focal point, excuse me, not the focal, the focus, how I focus, what system I use, as I think it's different than video. All right, bye.